Nutrition. These are the keys to caring for the microbiota. First, eliminate everything that is harmful. I think that is fundamental. We cannot build on something that is damaged. So, first we have to remove it so that it does not continue to suffer damage. If one wants to take care of the soil, what we cannot do is continue. Before adding fertilizer, we cannot keep throwing garbage. We have to avoid this garbage. This is obvious. I know it is common sense, but we forget it because, as I said, junk food is everywhere, and time or fatigue makes us lose focus on how we should take care of our gut microbiota. So, the first rule is to remove everything that is harmful, and we will talk about several factors that can care for our microbiota. One is nutrition, but it doesn't stop here. So first, we are going to look for that density of real food. This is very important. So, this variety, this diversity that I mentioned before, will be fundamental for our microbiota to be healthy. There are prebiotics and probiotics. Many people immediately think of yogurt, but this is being reductionist. Yogurt has a type of microbes that perhaps other foods do not have. For example, fruits that contain pectin, which help us restore the entire intestinal mucosa, are very interesting. Then there are also other fruits that have mucilages that will also help us and can also be beneficial for our microbiota. And there are all the prebiotics that will enhance this symbiosis they have. What are they? Garlic, onion, asparagus, cabbage, artichokes, kiwi, all of these. There are many foods that are rich in fiber, which is super important because it will produce short-chain fatty acids, and those acids will benefit our little creatures. I will call them little creatures, even though it's not the correct term. If a doctor comes here, they might say, well, but anyway, our little creatures. The fact is that indeed this butyric acid has the ability to produce energy. It seems to me like a marvel. Butyric acid is something special that is obtained from the digestion of fiber and also from the digestion of omega-3, which are found in blue fish. We are talking about a fat that is also found in ghee, which can act on our microbiota. So, I have already said that all vegetables with fiber. If someone here has problems with these vegetables like garlic, onion, asparagus, which is very common to say yes, I know they are very good, but they don't agree with me. Well, this is a symptom that the digestive system is not functioning properly. So I am going to encourage you to really get tested because it is generally a lack of tolerance that can be corrected, but it is important to have a diagnosis in order to address it. Why? Because there are many people who remove them, logically because they cause discomfort, they cause pain, so they remove them and do not heal. In other words, they have done well to remove it, but it is also necessary to heal with a comprehensive approach. I say this a lot because it is very common to find people who want to eat garlic, onion, asparagus, salsa to suck on them, and they don't agree with them and don't know what is happening to them. This is the metabolism which cannot digest this well, but because it is damaged, so it needs to be repaired. So we have already seen nutrition. We have seen butyric acid, which is a wonder, which is also in omega-3, small blue fish, melba. Sardines. Imagine things like this. This is much more than yogurt. This is something more complete, deeper. And then we have a wonder which is beta-glucans, which are mainly found in mushrooms and have the ability to interact with the gut microbiota and also strengthen, our immune system. And of course, fermented foods are on the list. Kefir, yogurt, kimchi. And then, for example, we can also buy unpasteurized olives. This is very important because there are sauerkrauts sold in the market, and we think we are consuming prebiotics, but they have already been pasteurized. The industry pasteurizes it solely for food safety reasons, meaning they cannot sell unpasteurized products. Yes, there are certain brands that sell them unpasteurized, In fact, most of the kefirs available in the supermarket are pasteurized. So one might need to look for a bio-kefir, as those are generally unpasteurized. Also, as I mentioned, there are unpasteurized olives. There's kimchi, and then there's the umeboshi seed, which can also help us secrete more hydrochloric acid and assist our gut microbiota. Well, I hope you are enjoying it because this is super comprehensive. I mean, we are not going to stick with just yogurt or kimchi. There are many things we can do in our diet, adding to our nutrition in favor of ourselves and our microbiota. 2009. Cooking, we have already talked about foods, which is a fundamental part, but cooking also has an impact on how we and our gut flora receive that nutrient for it. And for me, there is a very, very explicit way to say it. A potato, a freshly baked potato, you will digest it all. All the starch that the freshly baked potato has, which by the way is delicious, well, you will receive it all. If I bake the potato or peel it, cool it in the fridge for 12 to 24 hours, and then consume it, I am creating resistant starch. What does resistant starch mean? It means that it is resistant to digestion. Usand means that I am not going to digest that starch at all, because we already know that we do not digest fiber. But since I do not digest it, I have turned it into a kind of fiber. So the one who will feast will be our microbiota. We can find this resistant starch mainly in roasted tubers, such as potatoes. It is the potato. It is the sweet potato. And it could be cassava. It is not worth doing it in water, which is one of the questions I get asked the most. Why? Because in water, the water actually goes into the starch. And what we want is to concentrate that starch, to let it cool, and turn it into fiber so that I can eat that fiber. Another question I get asked about resistant starch 2009 is whether it can be heated. It can be heated, yes, but if I overheat it, I am reversing the process. So it's better to have it warm. A salad, or a little bit, like a cold salad or a warm salad, to ensure that I am consuming this resistant starch. There are other foods that contain starch, such as legumes, usand, but with the cooking process, almost all of it goes into the water. It's also in rice, but to a lesser extent. So the type of cooking will influence it. Also, the apple, the fibers in the apple change completely when we bake them, and this also helps our system and our intestinal flora absorb it differently. And the pectins, all the pectins that we make softer, will also be better. For example, also flax, or chia, which need to be soaked to make that kind of mucilage, which is this kind of goo that will also help us and feed our microbiota. So this is the aspect number 2, which is cooking. Now, number 3, the timings. We are no longer talking about food or cooking. We are talking about following a diet according to the rhythm of the sun. So we need to be mindful of the hours we eat. We cannot be irregular, not only for digestion, but also for our microbiota. As I have said, bacteria, after all, are also living microorganisms, and they also follow a circadian rhythm like us. Then, for example, spacing meals is essential for the growth of certain types of bacteria, because bacteria and viruses, everything is changing, one when we eat and others when we are digesting. This is an orchestra, I believe, wonderful, that happens at every meal. And if we space out meals, we are giving that time for that dance orchestra, or however you want to call it, to happen in a better way. Why? Because spacing meals helps our migrating motor complex. And I'm going to explain it from another point of view. Let's imagine that in our digestive system, there is a garbage truck that collects all the trash and takes it out. That is our migrating motor complex. If we give more food while the migrating motor complex is cleaning, it keeps working, and doesn't have time to rest. It's like when I say, you are cleaning the dishes, you are about to finish, and someone comes and puts another plate in front of you. You say, wait, no, one is already tired of washing dishes, we need to rest. Well, it's the same for the migrating motor complex. So spacing out meals gives a digestive rest, and we, Our digestion and also our bacteria will appreciate it. And of course, practicing fasting is very beneficial. For me, the most natural one that we should all follow is a 12-hour fast, which means I fast for 12 hours and then in 12 hours. I do all the food intake I need to do, and if I can spread it over 3 meals, even better. Okay, we need to be very careful about what we eat there, because it doesn't make any sense, right? By fasting, I am cleansing my digestive system, and then I break it with junk food. It just doesn't make any sense. 4, without toxins. We must keep this in mind as much as possible. I know that it is something that is a task for everyone, which is not always possible, but if we take it little by little. Keeping in mind, for example, to avoid antibiotics as much as possible, okay, or an excess of medication that will always be harmful, as it will always harm and alter our gut microbiota and our digestion. If we can buy the most organic possible, it will also be much better because we will not have pesticides or herbicides. And there are also many animals that are exposed to antibiotics. So this is something to keep in mind as well, and how we process food. So if we process each recipe with love and care, we will avoid using ultra-processed products that may contain preservatives and additives. These preservatives and additives are food safe, created for food safety, and are safe for human consumption. But the level of exposure is the problem. If we can indeed mitigate that by processing food, it is certainly much better. 5th and last, physical activity and sports. It is true that proper exercise has the ability to influence the health of our microbiota. And in fact, there are several studies that demonstrate the performance of athletes. As I mentioned earlier, there are certain metabolites like butyric acid that can produce energy from fiber. So if we implement a good strategy of sports and nutrition, we will achieve both benefits at the same time. So athletic performance influences the way we eat and also affects our microbiota, because ultimately we are moving molecules throughout our body with exercise and making it function in harmony. So there are 5 keys to keep in mind. We are talking about a healthy lifestyle and not about, well, I want to take a probiotic because I am feeling unwell now. Of course, fortunately, there are now many state-of-the-art probiotics and symbiotics on the market. But we do nothing if we do not take into account these 5 keys that will make our microbiota happy.